Alrighty, so thank you so much for joining me here on the Morning Mindset. It is Friday morning. Friday. So, what is it about Friday that is such a difficulty for so many people to stay focused? What is it about the weekend coming up that just drives them to just, well, I don't know if drives the right word, causes them to not really feel that intensity of the work week or the potential of the day, right? What is it? Well, my opinion is that it's attitude. And we're going to be talking about attitude this morning. In fact, if you'll see this slide that I have up, I don't quote other people a lot. Not that I don't have a high level of respect for other thought leaders. I most certainly do. But I just don't do it. I don't know exactly why the reason that is for that. But today I decided to do some of that because I felt inspired to talk about attitude in general. Because let me tell you something. For me personally, this was a rough week. I had a lot of challenges that had to be overcome with the things that were going on, and I like to stay focused on income generating activities, right, with the people that I work with and the distributors that I have, and for part of this week we had to go a different direction with some of the things that happened, and that can be challenging. And I'll tell you that I personally kind of got a bad attitude a little bit. Not for very long, but for just a few moments, I did, and I can tell you something. Even just a little bit of that, just a tiny bit of that, sometimes can really set you going on in the wrong direction. And I made sure that I composed myself. I brought myself back because I tell you, attitude is everything. It's absolutely everything. What I did to kind of get my mind back right is I popped on some Tony Robbins, and actually Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, and Jim Rohn were all part of the same video. And first thing he comes in is talking about posture and attitude, and it really did a lot for me. In 10 minutes of my time, I got back on the horse, and I got the message. And Tony was talking about how when your shoulders are forward just a little bit as compared to when you bring them back and kind of stand up, the difference is only in the course of a couple of degrees. And that a lot of times when people think that they've gone off track, most of the time, even though they think it's crazy, chaotic, and out of control, it's that they're just really off by only a couple of degrees. And if they'll make a little bit of adjustment, they'll get right back on right where it was that they were. They'll feel all that inspiration, that desire, and the truth about the path that they're on if they'll just change things just a little bit. And I can tell you what that little bit is attitude. Okay, because attitude is absolutely everything. Okay, the greatest day in your life and mine is when we take total responsibility for our attitudes. That's the day we truly grow up. John C. Maxwell. I love John Maxwell, I'll tell you, because he's so practical. With a lot of other thought leaders that are out there, especially those that are teaching leadership, a lot of times they get into a lot of fantastico stuff to really get you moving. But with John, it's always different than that. It's always such practical advice, right? And so I'm going to read that again. The greatest day in your life and mine is when we take total responsibility for our attitudes. That's the day we truly grow up. It's not your upline, your downline. It's not anybody outside of your own person that is responsible for any one thing or another of your attitude. It's yourself. It's you. Okay, that is a critical point to get through on the perspective that we have in life. We are responsible for holding that attitude, that posture. We're responsible. Nobody can make it change unless we let them do it. Okay, and I'll tell you, I learned that myself very, very much so in the last few days, with as much as me and even a lot of my team members had to deal with. And today I feel great. It's Friday. I want to do a really good job today, just like I've done every day, or at least attempted to do every day of my life, especially recently here with Epic Life. So attitude is everything, right? So why do I like the next quote so much is because we're going back in time, right? John C. Maxwell, he's a gentleman still alive today, still training people, doing a tremendous job. Okay, well, listen to something that one of the founding fathers of the United States had to say about this. Nothing can stop the man with the right mental attitude from achieving his goal. Nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude. You know, that is as advanced as we've come in the last 200 plus years. Here's one of our founding fathers probably bringing, in my opinion, one of the most powerful statements to light. Nothing can stop the man with the right mental attitude from achieving his goal, and nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude. Think about just how different that is, and then think about what I was talking about. You know, when I was learning yesterday, the things that was said by Tony Robbins is a lot of times we're just off by a couple of degrees. You know, we're not off by a lot. It seems like a lot because we're off, period. And so it seems like a tremendous amount, right? But a lot of times it's only just a couple of degrees. And those couple of degrees, most of the time, are your attitude. Okay, it's your perceptions, the way you see things. It's your balanced emotions to the balanced mentality that you have. And and your desire to have those things to be fortuitous to the nature that you have personally, yourself, your attitude. Okay, not the people that interact with you and the fact that your attitude is going to change them. That's impossible. Okay, it may be infectious to them. Okay, because attitude is just like a disease on the positive side. People will get infected with it, right? If you have the right attitude, it's like a tuning fork. You bang it on the ground, put it next to another one, that other tuning fork's going to start vibrating. But that other tuning fork has to have the desire to have the right attitude. Okay, it's important. So, nothing can stop the man with the right mental attitude from achieving his goal, and nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude. Thomas Jefferson. Okay, again, doing some quotes today. All right, so, and then of course right here, because I felt it was important to find something from him that was relative, because I really felt he kind of put me right back on my path yesterday with this, you know, Tony Robbins. There is no such thing as failure. There are only results. How powerful is that? Okay, how true is that? My opinion, looking back from the things that I do and try to accomplish on a consistent basis, I've done things and had to make adjustments and had to make adjustments and had to make adjustments over and over and over and over and over. As a matter of fact, I've come to learn that making adjustments, I actually give a round table about 20% of everything you do has to be re-engineered on a consistent basis, no matter how you see it. and then the reality is, you know, I know that's a fact, and there are no such things as failures. There's only results. Okay, I agree with that 100%, and that's a matter of attitude. Okay, if you do something that doesn't work exactly the way it should, you just learned a whole lot, didn't you? Okay, you do it again. If you're smart, you learned from it, and you take an opportunity at that point to fall forward, as Sarah Robbins and many other people in our industry like to say. Okay, you take that opportunity to see it as a result of the things that you're trying to accomplish. Like you're in a lab, right? You're in a science lab, and you're just testing to see what's going to work best. Okay, so there are no failures. And if you take that attitude, okay, that's an attitude. If you take that attitude with your work, you'll realize just how much more you know. Let me give you an example of something that has a compounding effect. When you first get into any industry or get into learning anything, it always seems so voluminous what it is that you have to take on, and what it's easy to look at all the things that's required of you and just feel overwhelmed, right? The first time I read Eric Worre's book GoPro, which is not a huge book, but it's something, I'll tell you, something he did was just absolutely fantastic, because he packed so much great information into such a small space. When I was first reading GoPro, I can tell you, it seemed voluminous to me because there was so much good stuff packed into every page. I underline in all my books. I always buy books. I'll read Kindle sometimes if I'm reading with the group, but I actually like to have books in my hands. I'm pretty old school that way. And I underline everything. In fact, what I do is I underline everything I think is important, and then later I type it into a list so that I interact with the things I felt were as important more than one time. You know, it's part of my journey in learning. But I was working on something called the blueprint for my company, which is basically all the foundational basics that that are a real strong player in the space really needs to know from the perspective of Epic Life. And when I went back through the Eric Worre book, I was able to find every little thing in there that I needed to put into this blueprint like an index. Like it was so quick and easy and fast, and I understood all of it. And I looked at that, and I realized that no matter how voluminous it seemed or how daunting it seemed when I first started getting into it, because there's so much information in such a small space, when I went back to it and looked at it from that perspective, now that I'd been through it enough, experienced it enough myself in my own business, it was just like this extremely quick, easy to find index with all the things I needed right where they should be because I knew where they were in my mind. And what seemed to be so voluminous seemed so simple, practical, straightforward, and easy. Okay? So here's my suggestion. Here's my advice today. Have the right attitude, because things that seem voluminous, things that seem daunting, that seem impossible even at times, or when we look at all the things we need to, like, let's say, technically understand. Like, for example, my team right now is going through a process of learning how to use a CRM in combination with Facebook and a number of things. It seems so daunting to understand all of it, but then you look back after you've done it and used it for 6 months, and you notice and realize that it's all so simple, straightforward, basic, and easy. And that all the time you thought it was going to take, and that you just didn't have the time to do all of those things, that now you have a tremendous amount of more time. Okay, I don't know exactly what we would call that, but let's just say that as we learn, as things come through the filter of our consciousness, that they go from being astronomical, right? That's the first one, wasn't it? Where I made it up. And to microscopic. They go from being like our entire solar system and universe in our minds to simple, practical atomic structure, right? And I don't know why it works that way exactly. Of course, we call it experience, right? We call it going through the process and understanding things from that perspective. But what I can tell you is it does work like that. And why, I don't know exactly, but it's exciting to know that. It's exciting because if you can just keep the right attitude about it, it will happen. Those large, voluminous, daunting things that you're trying to absorb and learn and take on, as you do it, will become small, easy, very straightforward and simple things for you to use as you continue to learn more. Okay, so that's my gift to you, is that I know that. I experience that. It happens to me all the time when I'm learning a new subject, or if I'm reading something that just got so much value. So it's like I wonder how I'm ever going to integrate that into all the things that I'm doing in my life, right? Have the right attitude. Even though things seem voluminous, difficult, impossible, they will become simple, small, organized, and easy. They will, because that's how it works. I didn't write the book of life, but I can tell you that I've had that experience over and over and over and over in every industry and everything I've ever done. Okay, so Friday, have the right attitude. Do something powerful today. Don't tell yourself, oh, it's the weekend. Start thinking about your favorite TV show or where you're going to go stretch your legs on the beach. Any of you that have a beach to stretch your legs, I'm a little jealous where I live right now. Okay, but just get the right attitude about today. Make today count. This is what I tell people about Fridays. Okay, in fact, the 1 week is coming up that I usually reference, especially back when I was the CEO of a software company that I was running. At the end of the week, you have to work the hardest, because people are working half as hard on Fridays, which means you got to work twice as hard to get as much done as you did yesterday. Okay, don't let that discourage you. Take that on as a challenge, because working twice as hard will teach you how to work twice as hard tomorrow. That's a good lesson to learn. Friday's a good day to do it, because it takes twice as much effort on a Friday to get the same results. Okay, do it anyways. Make it happen. Make Friday count. And of course, the week I'm talking about is the week between Christmas and New Year's. It's this hang week, and man, people hardly do anything at all But let me tell you something. I saved my company that week one year. I did. I closed a $6,000 contract. We were about $6,000 low off on payroll. And somehow in that week, the dead week, I don't even know. I used to call actually from the day before Thanksgiving until the second week of January. I used to call it the dead zone. Now in direct sales, it's very different because people are buying Christmas presents, so very different. But when you're in the service industry, people aren't spending money on services; they're spending money on their families. So, anyways, I worked my butt off that week after Christmas. I spent Christmas with my family. Okay, I spent New Year's with my friends. Okay, but I most certainly worked my living butt off from the 26th till the end of the month, and I actually saved the company that year. I remember it was a difficult situation because everybody we got was getting Christmas presents. We had programmers that were stressed out. We didn't have payroll to them. We handled it. Okay, so work as hard as you can at the end of the week, twice as hard. And my suggestion is to work twice as hard in that week between Christmas and New Year's. Make that the week that you really get ready for 2016. Okay? Make that the week that you make your big plans. So that when New Year's comes and you're celebrating New Year's, man, on the 2nd of January, you are on fire. Okay? Hopefully I inspired you to use that last week correctly because I'm going to try to do the same thing. Okay, I'm going to attempt to do the same thing, write my goals down with my children, write my goals down with my wife, with my business, with what I want to see by the end of 2016. I'm going to work really hard to develop my vision for the year because most people do it about the middle of January. It's funny because I've been in online sales for a long time, and I'll tell you the big market coming up for all of us, everybody, and we're going to have stuff, literature, and pages for our company around this, but it's New Year's resolutions, right? Most people get into their New Year's resolutions about the middle of January, and they're usually about half-cocked because they're just not really, they're still trying to recover from Christmas, right? One thing they're grabbing their bellies, and they're like, oh my gosh, I ate so much freaking ham. Right? Start right after Christmas. Make that week between Christmas and New Year's something you do different. Jim Rohn says that if you don't want to be like other people, don't do what they do. It's that simple. Okay? Let's see all of us take that 1 week between Christmas and New Year's and hit 2016 on the 2nd. Celebrate the 1st. It's the new year. Let's get a jump on everybody. End of the week is Friday. End of the year is that week I'm talking about. And it's coming up. That's why I'm talking about it. Get a plan together. Make that week the most powerful week you've had the whole year. And let's jump into 2016 together with some real focus and some real plans. Let's have the right attitude. Okay, everybody, let's do it. It's Friday. Twice as hard. Do everything you can. I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to tuning fork it up for you. You guys want to run off that? I'm going to work as hard as I can today, twice as hard as I did yesterday. I will be back here for the morning mindset on Monday morning. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here.